Hey everyone, since my last post did so well, I'm back with a fresh list on a whole different breed of nightmare. Zombies. I experienced these lovely flesh munchers during an extended trip to a third world country you've probably never heard of. A rough few months is an understatement. It was a fucking nightmare, so strap in, because we're about to dive deep into Survival 101. The golden rule numero uno is to be overly prepared. Think of it as setting up for the world's most hellish camping trip, where forgetting your can opener isn't just inconvenient, it's potentially deadly. You need the basics: water, food, first aid. But that's just scratching the surface. We're talking weapons, medicine, flashlights, batteries, communication devices, self-defense gear, tools, blankets, clothing, and don't forget personal care items. Because even in an apocalypse, hygiene matters. There was this guy in my town. Let's call him Unprepared Ulysses. He was one of those "it'll never happen to me" types. When the outbreak hit, Ulysses figured a few cans of food and a flashlight would be enough. Hell, he even bragged about it at the local bar, laughing off our warnings. Fast forward a week, and the whole town's a buffet for the undead. Ulysses holed up in his place, but he ran out of supplies faster than a drunk runs out of beer on a Saturday night. When the rescue team finally cleared his house, they found him in the attic. He was surrounded by empty cans, his flashlight dead beside him. The poor bastard died not from bites, but from sheer, preventable neglect. A tragic example of how underestimating the situation can lead to an unglamorous end. Now, let me paint a different picture. My place is like Fort Knox meets your local supermarket. The basement's packed to the brim with canned goods, dried foods, gallons upon gallons of water, and a first aid kit that's got more supplies than your average ER. I've got battery packs for Africa, a communication setup that could contact Mars, and more guns and ammo than you'd find in a video game. When the dead started their shuffle in my neighborhood, I was more than ready. While others were scrambling for scraps, I was sitting pretty in my fortress, sipping on canned soup like it was fine wine. I only stepped outside on my terms, fully equipped, ready to face the groaning hordes with confidence. The lesson here, folks, is crystal clear. Don't be an unprepared Ulysses. In the land of the walking dead, the one with the fullest pantry and the biggest arsenal is king. So, stock up like there's no tomorrow. Because in a world overrun by zombies, there just might not be. As for my next tip in this no-bullshit guide to not getting your ass eaten by zombies, this time, let's talk emergency kits. I'm not just talking about a cute little box with band-aids and aspirin. I mean a badass kit that'd make a Navy SEAL nod in approval. We're talking non-perishable food, enough medication to stock a small pharmacy, and hygiene items. Because, let's face it, nobody wants to face the zombie apocalypse smelling like they already joined the undead. You'll need utility supplies too. Batteries, a knife, a can opener, don't laugh, it's important, torches, matches, a damn reliable phone, keys, and enough gas in your car to get the hell out of Dodge. And weapons. Load up on rifles, shotguns, knives, axes, machetes, shovels. And for the love of God, don't forget a baseball bat. Here's a little story about kitless Kevin. Kevin thought his kitchen knife and a flashlight would cut it. When the undead came knocking, he locked himself in the bathroom with his kit. Guess how that went? The rescue team found him 3 days later, huddled in the tub, clutching a butter knife. A fricking butter knife. He was starving, dehydrated, and about 2 seconds away from becoming a zombie Happy Meal. Now, let's flip the script. Yours truly has an emergency kit that could survive the apocalypse twice over. My kit's got canned goods that could last for months, medical supplies for any scenario, hygiene products because I plan on surviving this thing smelling like roses, and a small armory's worth of weapons. When things went south, I grabbed my kit, threw it in my truck, always full of gas, and headed to my safe spot. En route, I helped some folks out, armed only with my shotgun and my trusty bat. That kit wasn't just my lifeline, it was theirs too. So, the takeaway? Don't be a Kevin. Get your kit together and make sure it's stocked like you're planning to outlive the damn cockroaches. In the zombie apocalypse, being prepared is being alive. All right, survivors, and soon-to-be survivors. As we continue diving into the heart of strategic survival in a world swarming with brain munchers, let's talk about the art of devising a plan. Now, I'm not just yapping about some half-assed, scribbled on a napkin kind of plan. I mean a solid, thought-out strategy that covers all your bases. Start by identifying a safe assembly area. This is your fortress, your sanctuary. Know where your closest hospitals, grocery stores, and other essential spots are. Compile a list of emergency contacts, because let's face it, you're gonna want to know who's still kicking. And for the love of all that's holy, know every damn exit out of your hometown like the back of your hand. Take No Plan Nancy. Nancy thought she could wing it when the dead started walking. She had no meeting spot, no idea where to find supplies, and she sure as hell didn't know the best escape routes. Last I heard, Nancy was cornered in a dead-end alley by a horde, with no way out. If only she had mapped out a better plan. I'm more of a plan for everything, Pete. I've got maps of the town with escape routes highlighted, a rendezvous point for my crew, and locations of every supply store within a 50-mile radius. I even have backup meeting spots in case the first one goes to hell. When my neighborhood turned into a zombie fiesta, I was 3 steps ahead. I gathered my group, hit the stores for supplies, and we made it out of town using back roads I'd mapped out months ago. So, here's the deal. The zombie apocalypse is not the time for improvisation. Plan ahead, stay ahead, and maybe, just maybe, you'll live to see the end of this undead nightmare. Tip number 4 in your go-to guide for staying unchewed in Zombieland. Zombie-proofing your damn house. Yeah, you heard it right. It's time to turn your cozy home into a fortress of solitude against the undead. First off, let's clear something up. When I say zombie-proof, I don't mean sticking a few extra locks on your doors. I'm talking full-on Home Alone. But instead of a cheeky kid, you're a badass adult fighting off flesh eaters. You need to barricade your house like it's the last stand at the Alamo. Block those doors and windows with furniture, heavy objects, anything that creates an obstacle course for those brainless wanderers. And hey, aiming for higher ground isn't just a metaphor here. Zombies suck at climbing, so the upper floors of your house are your best bet. Let me tell you about Open Door Oliver. Oliver thought he was safe. He locked his doors, closed his windows, and called it a night. But when the moaning crowd came a-knocking, those flimsy locks did jack shit. The zombies busted through like it was Black Friday at Walmart. Last I saw of Oliver, he was sprinting down the street, pursued by a conga line of the undead. I went full zombie doomsday prepper on my place. I fortified my doors with barricades, installed metal grates on windows, and set up a safe room on the 2nd floor. I even rigged a few surprise welcome gifts for any zombie rude enough to drop by uninvited. When my neighborhood turned into a buffet for the Walking Dead, my house stood like a fortress. Not a single ghoul got past my defenses. So remember, your house is your castle, and in a world gone to hell, you need to defend it like a king or queen. Don't be an Open Door Oliver. Be a fortified Fred or Frida. Make your home a place where zombies fear to tread. All right, zombie apocalypse enthusiasts and fitness freaks, gather around. Tip 5 is all about getting physical. And no, I'm not talking about that, you degenerate heathens. I'm talking about getting in shape to outrun, outmaneuver, and outlive the undead. You see, in the world of flesh-eating freaks, being a couch potato is a one-way ticket to becoming zombie chow. Cardio is king, or queen. You gotta be able to run, and not just a sluggish jog. I'm talking sprinting, like your life depends on it because, well, it does. Strength training is also crucial. You need the muscle power to wield weapons, climb obstacles, and maybe even toss a zombie or 2 off your back. Remember Couch Potato Carl? Carl figured he'd survive the apocalypse sitting in his basement, playing video games and living off canned beans. Bad call, Carl. When he finally had to make a run for it, he barely made it to the end of the block before he was gasping for air, and the zombies were on him like vultures on a carcass. I turned my living room into a makeshift gym. Every day, it was push-ups, sit-ups, and running on the spot. I even filled backpacks with books for weight training. When the dead started to dance in my neighborhood, I was zipping through the streets like a parkour pro, dodging zombies left and right, jumping over cars, climbing fences. It was like an obstacle course from hell, and I was nailing it. So, lesson 5. Get off your ass and start training. Your future zombified self will thank you for it, by not existing. Remember, in the zombie apocalypse, survival of the fittest isn't just a theory, it's the rule of the game. Now we're diving into a crucial survival skill that's often overlooked: first aid. Trust me, in a world where a scratch can mean the difference between life and undeath, this shit's important. You don't need to be a doctor, but knowing how to patch up wounds, stop bleeding, and even perform CPR, on non-zombie victims, obviously, can be a game changer. This is not just about playing hero. It's about keeping your group alive and functional. Because let's face it, hospitals are either overrun or out of service, and you can't just dial 911 and wait for the ambulance. Case in point, Mike thought he was invincible, ignoring basic first aid because he reckoned he'd never get hurt. Bad move. Mike got a nasty gash on his leg while looting a convenience store. Simple wound, right? Wrong. He ignored it, got infected, and guess what? Mike is now groaning and limping with the rest of the zombie crew. On the other hand, yours truly had professional training through a career I may tell you about someday as long as the zombies don't get you first, but I digress. When one of my group members got a deep cut during a supply run, I was able to clean and dress the wound properly, kept her from getting infected, and she was back on her feet in no time, ready to kick some undead ass. So folks, lesson 6, brush up on your first aid skills. It's not just about keeping yourself alive, it's about keeping your group intact. In the zombie apocalypse, a little medical know-how goes a long, long way. All right, my amateur zombie slayers, it's time for another tip in our guide to not becoming a walking corpse's dinner. Today, we're honing in on a crucial tactic: aim for the brain. Now let me set this straight. When you're dealing with zombies, you're not aiming to wound or scare them off. You're aiming to permanently put them down. And the only way to do that? A brain blowout. Whether you're using a gun, an axe, a crossbow, or hell, even a golf club, your target is the zombie's head. Decapitation, brain damage, that's your goal. Anything less, and you might as well be tossing confetti at them. Take Harry, for example. Harry thought he could get by just knocking zombies down or shooting them in the chest. Big surprise, they kept getting back up. Last I saw of Harry, he was cornered by a group of walkers he'd killed. Not once, but twice. If he'd gone for the head the first time, he might not have ended up as an all-you-can-eat buffet. As for me, I learned this lesson early on. Got myself a trusty 1911 and practiced until I could hit a bottle cap at 20 paces. When my first real test came, a group of zombies breaking into my safe house, I kept my cool and remembered, aim for the head. One by one, they went down, and this time, they stayed down. So remember, folks, in the world of brain-hungry undead, it's headshots or nothing. Aim for the brain, and you'll stay in the game. Ignore this rule, and you're just another zombie's lunch. Stay sharp, aim true, and keep those undead bastards where they belong. 6 feet under. All right, so let's get ready for the next portion of our guide to outliving the undead. This time, we're diving into the importance of companionship. Buddy up. Listen, going solo in a zombie apocalypse might sound cool and all, but it's a one-way ticket to an early grave. Having a crew isn't just for the laughs, it's about survival. You need people who have your back, can share the load, and bring different skills to the table. We're talking about a team of strong, smart, resourceful, and brave souls. This isn't the time for deadweight or drama queens. Now let's remember the tale of Lone Wolf Larry. Larry thought he was better off alone, avoiding the hassle of dealing with others. Well, one night, Larry found himself surrounded by a horde with no one to watch his back. They found what was left of him scattered across 4 blocks. Not pretty. Now, let me tell you about my crew. We're like the freaking Avengers of the zombie world. There's Sharp Eye Sheila, the best shot I've ever seen. Medic Max, who can patch up a wound before you even know you're bleeding. Techie Tara, who's rigged our safe house with all sorts of alarms and traps. And then there's me, the brains of the operation, if I do say so myself. Together, we're a force to be reckoned with. We've taken out hordes, secured supplies, and saved each other's asses more times than I can count. So, the moral of the story? Don't be a lone wolf, Larry. Find your zombie apocalypse squad and stick together. Remember, there's strength in numbers. Alone, you're vulnerable. Together, you're unstoppable. Keep your friends close and your weapons closer. And never, ever forget, teamwork makes the dream work, especially when that dream is not becoming zombie chow. We're nearing the end of our essential zombie survival guide. This tip is a little rough to think about, but it's vital. In case of infestation. Here's the harsh truth. If someone in your group gets bitten, there's no room for sentimentality. The infection spreads fast, and once it takes hold, that person is no longer your friend. They're a ticking time bomb. The moment someone gets bitten, you've got two options, neither of them pleasant. You can either end their misery before they turn, or isolate them and hope for a miracle cure. Spoiler, there isn't one. Case in point, Hannah. Hannah's brother got bitten during a supply run. Instead of taking immediate action, she hid it from the group, hoping against hope he'd be the exception. Well, he wasn't. One night he turned and attacked the group in their sleep. It was a bloodbath. Hannah's hesitation cost several lives, including her own. Now, let me share a personal, painful experience. My buddy Ben got bitten saving a kid from a walker. Ben knew the drill. We all did. He looked me in the eye and told me to do it, to end him before he turned. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I owed it to him. We gave Ben a send-off worthy of a hero. It was brutal, but it kept the rest of us safe. So, the lesson here is clear and brutal. In a zombie infestation, tough choices save lives. If someone's bitten, you do what needs to be done. It's not just about them, it's about the survival of everyone else. Be decisive, be quick, and always remember, in the world of the undead, mercy can be the deadliest sin. Alright, zombie apocalypse aficionados, we've reached the final tip of our survival guide. What not to do. This is crucial, because sometimes, knowing what to avoid is just as important as knowing what to do. First up, never, and I mean never, use fire against zombies. Sure, it looks cool in movies, but in real life, you'll end up with a bunch of flaming zombies. They don't feel pain, they don't stop, and now they're on fire. Congratulations, you've just made things worse. Next, don't split up your group. This isn't a horror movie where the teens split up and somehow survive. In reality, splitting up is a death sentence. Stay together, watch each other's backs, and face the horde as a unit. Forgetting to secure your doors is another big no-no. It's not just about locking them, it's about barricading them. Zombies might not be smart, but they're persistent. An unsecured door might as well be an open invitation, being careless or reckless. That's just asking for trouble. Every noise, every light, every rash decision can attract a swarm of walkers. Be smart, be stealthy, and for heaven's sake, keep your wits about you. Lastly, always have enough gas in your car. When it's time to bug out, the last thing you need is to be out of fuel. Keep that tank full and be ready to roll at a moment's notice. I stay cautious, collected, and prepared. I keep my group tight, my defenses strong, and my car gassed up. I avoid fire like the plague and tread softly, but carry a big stick, or in my case, a big gun. So, remember these don'ts. No fire, no splitting up, secure your fucking doors, don't be a loudmouth, and always have an escape plan. Surviving a zombie apocalypse isn't just about the big heroic moments. It's about not doing the stupid shit that gets you killed. Stay smart, stay safe, and maybe, just maybe, we'll all get through this alive. And that, my fellow zombie apocalypse survivors, is where our guide comes to an end. I hope you found it informative, slightly terrifying, and chuckle-worthy. Remember, the key to surviving is a mix of preparation, common sense, and a good sense of humor. Because let's face it, if you can't laugh in the face of a zombie apocalypse, when can you? As for me, I'm off to check my stockpile of canned beans, polish my collection of zombie-whacking bats, and maybe take a leisurely stroll around my heavily fortified, zombie-proof compound. And who knows, maybe I'll even start working on my next survival guide. How to befriend mutant cockroaches, companions of the post-apocalyptic world. So, keep your brains inside your skulls, your weapons close, and always remember, in a world where the dead walk, the living run. Preferably towards the nearest boat. Stay safe, stay sharp, and if all else fails, find a good hiding spot and wait for the sequel. Signing off, until the next apocalypse.